Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Bobby Valentine Sports Show. I'm your host, Frank Rampin. The World Series matchup is set. Postseason baseball is almost over. What a month it has been. The wild card round was filled with a bunch of amazing moments. The divisional round as well. A little bit of a lull in the championship series, specifically in the National League. All those games between the Mets and the Dodgers honestly were blowouts. But the Yankees and the Guardians had three amazing games, nail-biting games in Cleveland. So the Dodgers take down the Mets in 6, and the Yankees took down the Guardians in 5, and now we have a Yankees-Dodgers World Series, the 12th ever meeting between the Yankees and the Dodgers in World Series history. That is, you guessed it, the most all time, and it's actually tied with the Celtics and the Lakers for the most title matchups in North American professional sports history. Pretty crazy. The Yankees lead those first 11 matchups 8-3, but the last meeting was all the way back in 1981. 1981, that was the year of Fernando Mania when he won the Rookie of the Year and the Cy Young. Rest in peace to an unbelievable man and pitcher, just actually passed away yesterday. This will be the 41st World Series appearance for the Yankees. 41st, you're hearing me correctly. That is a staggering number. 22 for the Dodgers, each respectively most in each league. This will be the first World Series matchup ever between two 50-plus home run hitters from that regular season. Judge hit 58, Shohei hit 54. This will be the 7th World Series title with both the American League and the National League home run leader, but neither of them ever got to 50 each. So historic home run battle taking place. This will be the 7th World Series between that year's MVPs. Obviously, Judge and Ohtani have not been announced officially as the MVPs of this year, but come on, it's going to be Judge and Ohtani. This will be the first matchup between MVPs in the World Series since 2012 between the Giants and the Tigers, when Buster Posey's Giants defeated Miguel Cabrera's Detroit Tigers. This is the 5th World Series between teams with the best record in their league in the wild card era, first since 2020, which also included the Dodgers and the Rays, actually. One of the wildest World Series plays in my recent memory comes to mind from that World Series with the Brett Phillips inside the park homer, Little League home run that walked off game 4, I want to say. But wild scenes that was. So first matchup between teams with the best record since 2020. But 2020 obviously was the COVID-shortened season. They only played 60 games. There are 5 former MVPs that are set to play in this World Series. Ohtani, Judge, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Giancarlo Stanton. And if they all play, that will be the most ever in one World Series. Wild. And just to say, like, those guys have already won MVP. Soto's probably going to win an MVP at some point in his career, right? Like, it's got to happen at some point. So there's a chance that we see 6 MVPs, obviously Soto, but 5 former MVPs and maybe 1 future MVP, all playing in the World Series at the same time. Wild. Also, 5 already is the most ever in a single World Series. And, I mean, if you're going to look at this, the only person that would be maybe not play would be Freddie Freeman. But if Freddie Freeman doesn't get a single at-bat, doesn't play an inning at first base through 6, 7, whatever, how many games the World Series takes, I will be incredibly shocked. Freddie Freeman's going to do everything in his power to get on that field. No league MVP has won World Series MVP since Mike Schmidt did it back in 1980. It's happened 5 times in total, but not so often does it happen. So the last time I said 1980, that's 44 years ago, the last time that a league MVP won World Series MVP. And interestingly enough, it happened in back-to-back years. So Mike Schmidt did it in 1980 for the Phils. Willie Stargell did it in 1979 for the We Are Family Pittsburgh Pirates. He also won NLCS MVP in that playoffs. So Willie Stargell wins MVP of the National League in the regular season, wins National League Championship Series MVP to get them to the World Series, and then wins World Series MVP. That has to be considered maybe one of the greatest seasons in the history of the sport. Reggie Jackson, unbelievable for the Swingin' A's back in 1973. He won MVP and World Series MVP. Frank Robinson did it back in 1966. And Sandy Koufax did it in 1963. So looking to join some elite company if Judge or Ohtani were to win MVP, because they are going to win MVP of the regular season. And in this series, there are 7 Hall of Famers that are projected to play. Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Garrett Cole, Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman. Those are the 7 projected to play. Kershaw doesn't even count because he's not on the roster. He's not going to pitch in the World Series. So could be 8, but it is 7. The last World Series to have 7 or more Hall of Famers was 1996, and that one had 9. Tom Glavine, Chipper Jones, Greg Maddux, Fred McGriff, John Smoltz, Wade Boggs, Derek Jeter, Tim Raines, and Mariano Rivera. So what a wild group of guys that was. But this one, maybe even arguably even better. Soto, Judge, Stanton, Cole, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman. 5 of those guys MVPs. Cole, obviously a Cy Young winner, and Soto will win an MVP in his career. Like, this is an unbelievable star-studded matchup, and obviously you got LA, you got New York, the 2 biggest cities in the country, all across the coast-to-coast battle. This is going to be a storybook World Series. I know a lot of people, like, look at me, I'm wearing an A's jacket right now. I'm an A's fan. Got Raleigh right here, I got McCutchen over here, he's my guy. I have always kind of been, I do, like, kind of root for the Mets, Mike Piazza right here. Bobby obviously has some influence on that. I feel like I'm always kind of rooting for the underdog. I'm a big Raiders fan. Obviously, at one point, the Raiders weren't underdogs, but that was about 40, 50 years ago now. But they are now. So Raiders, A's, I have some Pirates love, I have some Mets love. So, I mean, maybe as somebody like me, you would think I don't like a massive star-studded World Series matchup between the Yankees and the Dodgers. And as much as I loved watching Rangers D-backs last year, very interesting series with teams that weren't expected to be there, this really is like the pinnacle. Dodgers versus Yankees is like what people talk about from like 60-year-old guys talk about, like, oh, I was 12 years old watching Sandy Koufax. Like, that's the stuff that legends are made of. Dodgers-Yankees World Series. Obviously, Yankees-Mets would have been also awesome as well. The Subway Series World Series would have been great. First time that would have happened in 24 years. Only the second time between Yankees and the Mets. But nevertheless, get the 2 biggest names in the sport to come together in the World Series. You can't go wrong. So make sure you're tuning in tomorrow night. Friday, Game 1 begins. Garrett Cole versus Jack Flaherty for the Dodgers. It's going to be an unbelievable series. Look for a lot of slug. I feel like there's going to be a lot of runs scored. In my opinion, one of the biggest factors going into the series is how each team's bullpen is going to hold up. Obviously, throughout this playoffs to get to the World Series, both bullpens have been very good. Dodgers bullpen had a 30, or not just the bullpen, Dodgers pitchers had a 33 consecutive innings scoreless streak, tying the all-time postseason record. So that pitching staff and bullpen can really just get into gear at any point in time. And the Yankees, after struggling mightily, the bullpen, in the last two and a half months of the season, the back half of the season was not pretty for the guys in the bullpen for New York. They come into the playoffs and they're basically unhittable. Tim Hill, Clay Holmes, Luke Weaver, they've all been unbelievable in this playoff stretch. A little bit of hiccups in those last couple games in Cleveland. See if that can come into this series, but we'll see what happens. I think the pitching out of the bullpen is going to be incredibly important. Whoever can get to that bullpen first and whoever can crack the bullpen seal, I think that's who's going to win the series. And honestly, if I were to make a prediction, I know we're in New York here, we're making a New York-based show, but I kind of have a little bit more confidence in the Dodgers bats, the depth of the Dodgers order, versus that Yankees bullpen than I do the other way around. Obviously, Soto, Judge, Stanton, that is one of the most formidable 3 you can ever have. Line that right up with Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman, and it's pretty close. But I just think that the Dodgers lineup has a little bit more depth with Kike Hernandez down there, Max Muncy, Tommy Edman, who just won NLCS MVP. I just have a feeling that this Dodgers offense is going to be too much for this Yankees pitching staff. I think the bullpen's going to give for the Bronx Bombers, and the Dodgers are going to take this one in either 6 or 7. Let's go 7 because we want to see 7-game series. So that's my World Series prediction. I think the Dodgers offense is going to be too much for the Yankees defense pitching. So hopefully we'll see a 7-game series, nail biters each way, a lot of great finishes. So World Series starts tomorrow night. We'll be back after that one concludes, but this was the World Series recap. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. This has been the Bobby Valentine Sports Show. I am Frank Rampin. We'll see you next time. Peace out.